Derby County have suffered a huge injury to David Ozoh, which could keep him out for up to the next 12 weeks. Now, obviously for Derby County, this is negative news as they've been in such a good vein of form. Now, this spells a change for the likes of Ozoh Adams. It also spells a negativity spell for David Ozoh, but we're going to cover it all in this video, including the latest update, which has come from Derby Evening Telegraph. But should we get into it? Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Now, it has been revealed that David Ozoh will be undergoing a scan on his injury over the course of the next few days, which is obviously massive for Derby County as they look to secure their future in the Championship and maybe even a potential playoff push. Now, David Ozoh couldn't have picked up this injury at a worse time. In his best form at Derby County since this time last year, and he could potentially have a spell on the sidelines up to 3 months. Now, obviously, when it comes to David Ozoh, obviously we have ready-made replacements in that position, in the likes of Ozoh Adams, in the likes of Liam Thompson, and even Lewis Travis. And there's so much going on with David Ozoh, but can he return? Now, obviously, he pulled up with what I believe to be a thigh or quadricep injury, which is one of those ones which can be really difficult to deal with. Now, if we look at the likes of Liam Thompson, you look at Corey Blackett-Taylor, and even Charles Obuka, they suffered quadricep, groiny, thigh type injuries earlier on in the season, and all were out for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, I don't know how those injuries transpired because they were all suffered in training, apart from the Corey Blackett-Taylor one, which, to be quite honest with you, looked very, very similar to the David Ozoh one. But when it comes to David Ozoh, we saw what happened. He won the ball. As he was going to collect the ball, obviously, that's when he sort of pulled up, which was obviously very, very disappointing for Derby County. And I am very disappointed to see David Ozoh have a spell on the sidelines again. Now, there is the possibility that with David Ozoh's injury history, that it isn't as bad as first revealed, well, first expected, let's say, and it could just be a case of mentally having that feeling, that twinge that he felt, meant that he couldn't carry on. Now, I personally hope that is the case for David Ozoh, because obviously he's a very, very good footballer, can have a huge impact on us going forward, but it's one of those situations for me where obviously you've got the mental side of picking up previous injuries and the situation going on here. You've got the physical side of if there is an injury. Obviously, I anticipate there is. I doubt that he pulled up for no reason, sat down after 10 minutes because he's in the best spell of form of his career, really, and he's been brilliant since breaking into the side. But the big sort of problem that we have in regards to that is that losing David Ozoh and him potentially picking up an injury completely changes what our transfer plans could be in January, because we've then got to sort of look at our midfield area and go, what are we going to do in order to solve this issue in midfield? Because obviously we sent Kenzo Helpmine out on loan. Obviously Lewis Travis is injured at the moment. Liam Thompson's just returning. Ozoh Adams is a walking yellow card. Obviously, Bobby Clark's been brilliant in there, but not the same sort of midfielder as Ozoh or as David Ozoh. So there's a lot of question marks about how this injury impacts Derby County. And obviously, we're 5 on the spin. We've got a couple of weeks until the next game. So I do believe that John Eustace will come up with a plan. But the problem with coming up with that plan is I believe Ozoh Adams is away on international duty, which means that you can't really create a great deal of chemistry within that new midfield partnership of what would probably be Ozoh Adams and Bobby Clark, which means we could potentially see a midfield 2 with Liam Thompson and Bobby Clark heading into the next fixture, which is, I believe, is Watford at home. But it's a huge situation. Now, obviously, if we look at David Ozoh's history, he spent pretty much the best part of last year injured, which was obviously hugely disappointing for us as Derby County fans, but it's one of those where we know exactly what he's capable of, we know what he can do, and obviously this injury that he has picked up against Blackburn Rovers, it didn't impact the result in any way. We still went on to win. Obviously it was 0-0 at the time, he only played about 9 minutes, but it's one of, I don't know, I feel I feel heartbroken about this situation, to be completely honest. I know some people go, you're heartbroken over a player injury, but I think David Ozoh is a huge part of this upturn in form that we've had. Obviously, I'm not saying that he's the be-all and end-all, because I think Sondre Langas has a massive part to play as well. The way the front three has changed has had a massive role. But for me, I just think that David Ozoh offers something in midfield that we don't get from anybody else. Ebou Adams can offer the defensive side of Ozoh, no problem at all. Attacking wise, on the ball, he can't, and we saw that time and time again during the game against Blackburn. And this is no slight on Ebou Adams. I'm going to have a video about Ebou Adams out over the course of the next couple of weeks anyway, discussing this situation and how the injury impacts him, how that sort of transfer potential talk that's been going on with Sheffield United and Luton is going to be impacted by this, because at the end of the day, if David Ozoh is out for 2 or 3 months, that takes you to the end of January. Derby County can't really afford to lose a player of the quality of Ebou Adams if David Ozoh isn't fit. So there's so much that comes out of David Ozoh being injured that it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable that Derby County can't do it. Do you know what I mean? We can't keep players fit, and it happens consistently. Corey Blackett-Taylor earlier during the season, Liam Thompson's picked up a knock. Obviously, Selverson Langas had knocks from last season, which carried over. And obviously, Ryan Brewster had that knock earlier on as well. But there's so many things that could change for Derby as a result of this. Now, my personal hope is that it doesn't impact the way we've been playing, the form, the style, the philosophy that we've been using, because I think that's been one of the key factors in our upturn in form, and I think John Eustace has done an excellent job to get Derby County to this point. But I do think that David Ozoh is a big part of the reason why we have been able to battle so hard in this division and go and win 5 games on the spin up against teams like QPR. Blackburn Rovers are no slouch. You look at the other games in there was Norwich, which was our start of the upturn. We've picked up some really, really good wins, and I think that David Ozoh played a massive part in all of those games. Now, I did say before the game on Saturday that we've got to be very, very careful about the situation in regards to our players, because we didn't really make many changes. We had Max Johnston pull up a couple of weeks ago. Now we've had David Ozoh. Hopefully there's nobody else coming to sort of impact us, because at the end of the day, we can't really have too many changes. Joe Ward has stepped in and been excellent. Ebou Adams stepped in on Saturday and was excellent against Blackburn Rovers. And I do believe that Ebou Adams has the quality in this division. I've never lied about that. But I don't think he's a championship all-round player. He's top end of the championship defender. He's probably a bottom-end championship technically. And it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. You can obviously let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. Obviously, if you have not done so already, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.